Hey guys, very interesting clip I want to share with you. Something that actually makes a little bit of sense in the Idaho 4 case. And when I say the Idaho 4, I hate to say that because you know who I'm talking about and they have names: Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, Madison. Or if you want to go by the judge's order, Madison, Kaylee, Xana, Ethan. Horrifically killed November 13th in Moscow, Idaho. When I say a little bit of sense, I mean a little bit. Makes a little bit of sense. This reporter dug up somebody who was willing to speak, that's affiliated, I don't know how, with the Mad Greek, that said Brian was there a lot. It's been rumored, it's been speculated, but finally someone has come out and actually placed his ass there, eating his vegan food, even though he's a fake vegan, in my opinion. Very interesting clip. Look at this with me. This could be the connection. Kaylee never made sense to me because, well, Kaylee wasn't supposed to be there. Ethan didn't make sense to me because Ethan doesn't even live there. It could be Madison and Xana. I don't know. You tell me what you think, because I know this is probably, gosh, next to the 911 call and Murphy, probably the most heavily debated conversation in this case. So please look at this with me. Leave me a comment. I always want to know what you guys are thinking.
Happened just a few hours ago, and it may have been because of the incredible reporting by Steve Helling. The judge in the case wants no talking at all. He wants to put a gag order on just about everyone. We have a First Amendment right. He can't gag me. He can't gag a lot of people, but the judge in the case, she can actually gag people who actually work for the court, officers of the court, attorneys on the case, prosecutors on the case, attorneys for the families, attorneys who are tangential to the parties in this case, witnesses in this case, and a lot of people. So a tougher gag order was just issued in the last few hours, making it harder to get these details. Well, no matter, Steve Helling gets them anyway, and he joins me now. He is a senior reporter with People magazine, and he has a long history in doing crime and justice reporting, which is why he got this story. Steve, congratulations on your exclusive reporting. Really remarkable stuff. Walk me through what you found out.
Well, yes. I started speaking to, as you and I both did, we tried to reach as many people as we could who used to work at, the Mad Greek restaurant. And, very few people wanted to talk, but I did end up speaking to somebody who worked there until recently, who said that, yes, indeed, they did see Brian Koberger come there a couple of times, at least twice. And the only reason why he stood out was not because he was being creepy, not because he was doing anything weird, but he's such a strict vegan that he was requiring that he wanted to make sure that all of his food had not come in contact with animal products. So that's why he stood out, because he had a special request with his order. And yes, he was there. We don't know who waited on him. We don't know if that's where he met, a couple of the victims, but we know that he at least went there to eat a couple of times.
And we know that Maddie and Xana Kernodle and Manny Bogan were both servers at that restaurant. We can also say this, Steve's work is particularly good because many of the folks who work at the Mad Greek restaurant have met together and agreed as a unit not to speak to the press. They've also been asked by the police not to speak to the press. So the person that you spoke with was somebody who is just outside of that circle, who had just worked there and clearly still had this intelligence, but wasn't sort of bound by that that codified agreement that they all had together. But here's what's interesting. I think it was an aunt or an uncle or maybe a couple of aunts of Brian Koberger who said many weeks ago that one of the strange personality traits that their nephew had was that he did not want to eat out of any pots that had once been used to even cook meat. So he had that tendency in the family in Pennsylvania that his vegan diet was so strict, he had to have new pots. They bought new pots and pans if he was going to be coming for dinner. So this kind of is in line with what this employee was telling you.
Yeah, I mean, things start lining up, and the more they line up, the clearer the picture gets. And so, yeah, that doesn't mean that he was doing anything weird at this restaurant. It just stood out. Just, anybody who's waited tables, I did it in college. I still remember people who stood out because they had strange things. And that's what happened here.
So I want to ask you about the messaging in just a moment, but I'm looking at your piece and I'm actually looking at the Reddit account at the same time that allegedly belongs to Bryan Kohberger. If you do a lot of the side-by-side comparison, one of the Reddit accounts called Inside Looking, many have pointed to the fact that this appears to be Bryan Kohberger, and that the person who goes under the handle Inside Looking insisted that M+X were the killer's targets. That would be Maddie and Xana, who both worked at the Mad Greek restaurant. So once again, the pieces start to line up. Back to the Mad Greek. What was it that he was ordering there? Because you never know. There could be a small detail that speaks volumes.
He was a vegan, and they are one of very few restaurants in the area that serve vegan food. And from what everybody says, it's the best place if you're a vegan. So he was getting vegan pizza. He could order and customize the pizza that he wanted with vegan ingredients, and that's what he wanted, and that's why he went there.
Do we know at this point from your source whether Maddie and Xana had any contact with him? Were they servers for his table? Were they behind the counter when he ordered? Do we know if there was any actual connection made?
We don't know any specific connection, but if you've ever seen this restaurant, this isn't a huge restaurant. This isn't a Cheesecake Factory where there's a whole bunch of people around. So the chances are that there was some sort of at least incidental contact between them, or at least he would have noticed them.
He could certainly see them without question. Whether he stood out as a customer that was noteworthy, that's a whole other, other story.
All right, y'all. We have one